Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Podcast Today in the News, the show where we take America's crumbling geopolitical situation, run it through a Dollar General blender, and pour it straight into a mason jar of bad decisions. Folks, today's news feels like someone tried to update the firmware on the entire country using the Wi-Fi password from a Waffle House bathroom. Nothing boots up right, the lights flicker, and somehow your cousin gets electrocuted even though he wasn't touching anything. We've got a president launching a moonshot AI program run out of national labs that already can't fix their own vending machines. Consumer confidence dropping faster than my Uncle Randy diving for loose cigarettes at a gas station. A Ukraine peace plan that looks like it was drafted by a magic 8-ball filled with Russian vodka. Gaza aid collapsing like a folding chair at a barbecue. Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning and blaming everybody but the Dairy Queen employees. And a coming flu season so nasty, it's giving scientists the dry heaves. So pull up a seat, grab a microwaved biscuit, and prepare your brain for impacts it absolutely did not consent to. Segment 1. The Genesis Mission and the Great American Science Experiment. Let me tell y'all something. The president just rolled out this thing called the Genesis Mission. And brother, it is the biggest, loudest, most government-flavored science experiment since the time the Pentagon tried to teach pigeons how to guide missiles. Except this time, instead of pigeons, it's supercomputers. Which honestly might be an upgrade. The whole deal is basically, what if the US government duct-taped every national lab together, plugged them all into one giant extension cord, and told AI to fix everything from cancer to the price of eggs? They said it's the largest mobilization of federal science since Apollo, which is a big compliment until you remember NASA hasn't been able to get a single toilet to work in space without floating surprises. They're combining nuclear physics, biology, satellites, data libraries, and every supercomputer we've got, which is wild because I know for a fact at least 3 national labs still run Windows XP. Meanwhile, NVIDIA and Anthropic are invited to the cookout whether they brought anything or not, and Google is outside banging on the door yelling, "We got chips too, we swear!" And the president says states like California need to stay out of AI regulation because they're slowing progress. Brother, California's got AI laws, water rationing, plastic bag fees, and avocado inspections. They regulate more things than my aunt regulates how many biscuits you're allowed to have at Thanksgiving. Also, the DOE is supposed to manage all this. The same DOE that once spent 4 months trying to figure out why a supercomputer kept crashing, only to learn someone had plugged a coffee pot into the same outlet. These are the people now controlling America's digital Manhattan Project. Sweet Jesus, hold my beer. Segment 2. The MAGA Meltdown. Marjorie Taylor Greene quits the circus. Big news in the Republican rodeo. Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning. Yes, sir, the fire-breathing dragon of the party has officially stomped out of the tent and blamed absolutely everyone on her way out. It's like watching someone quit their job at Arby's while yelling, "And another thing, the curly fries ain't even curly. Y'all know it." She said she's resigning because the White House calls her a traitor, the GOP leadership ignores her, and nobody will release the Epstein files. Brother, that's not a resignation letter. That's a Facebook rant written after 3 Monster Energies and half a rotisserie chicken. She says the House is run top-down and she's tired of it. Buddy, the entire US government is top-down. That's how ladders work. She hates H-1B visas, hates big tech, hates foreign conflicts, hates that the president mocked her, hates that Mike Johnson is breathing wrong, This woman resigns with more plot twists than a Lifetime movie starring a malfunctioning Roomba. The president called her wacky and great news for the country, which is hilarious because she spent 3 years defending him harder than a raccoon guarding a trash can. You'd think loyalty meant something, but no. In the Trump ecosystem, loyalty ages like bread in Florida humidity. But here's the kicker. Her leaving actually helps Speaker Mike Johnson, because now he doesn't have her kicking down his door every Tuesday like she's serving an eviction notice. The GOP is now officially held together with zip ties, prayer, and whatever Kevin McCarthy left behind under his desk. Segment 3. The Ukraine plan, so bad even Russia blushed. Now we gotta talk about the Ukraine peace plan leak, which might be the first diplomatic document in history to get ratioed worse than a teenager making fun of Taylor Swift fans online. This plan, supposedly cooked up by Trump's friend Steve Witkoff and Putin's buddy Kirill Dmitriev, basically says Ukraine should give up territory, demilitarize, stay out of NATO, and pretend Russian war crimes were just misunderstandings. That ain't a peace plan. That's a ransom note written in crayon. The Europeans read it and said, "Oh, absolutely not." Ukraine read it and said, "Come again?" Putin read it and said, "This is great, print it out and frame it." So Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to rush to Geneva to fix it, and now there's a refined plan, like it's olive oil or something, that takes out the craziest stuff, but still leaves Ukraine negotiating with a Sharpie hovering over their borders. This ain't peace. It's a yard sale where Ukraine shows up, and Russia already slapped sold stickers on half their stuff. And then the president complained that Zelensky shows zero gratitude. Brother, if someone told me to give up my land, shrink my army, and stop complaining about war crimes, I wouldn't be sending a thank you card either. I'd be calling my cousins for backup. Europe countered with their own plan, which is basically freeze everything where it is and nobody move. It's the geopolitical version of parents yelling, "I swear to God if one more of y'all touches the thermostat." Segment 4. Gaza aid collapse. Privatizing humanitarian work was a bad idea, who knew? The U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the private group meant to replace the UN, has shut down, permanently, forever, gone. And not like Blockbuster Gone where people still argue about how much they miss it. No. This is never should have existed in the first place, gone. This thing was supposed to feed Gaza, rebuild things, restore order. Instead, it delivered chaos, long lines, death, riots, and at least 1,000 casualties at distribution sites. Brother, that's not aid. That's the world's worst Black Friday sale. Humanitarian groups refused to work with it. Locals didn't trust it. And even the IDF was like, "Listen, we like being in charge, but this is not it, Chief." Now the US and Israel have to crawl back to the UN like a teenager returning the car after swearing he wouldn't crash it. And Congress is like, "Hey, maybe we rebuild hospitals and use actual professionals instead of a private contractor who thinks humanitarian logistics is a brand of protein powder." Segment 5. The economy. Consumer confidence lower than a bass boat taking on water. Consumer confidence is now at 88.7, which is lower than my cousin Jimmy's credit score after he tried to buy 4 jet skis on layaway. Folks are stressed. Prices are high, politics are stupid, and every time the president mentions tariffs, the stock market does a nervous little shimmy like a dog hearing fireworks. The expectations index, which predicts recessions, is sitting at 63.2, which is lower than the testing score your cousin needs to get into community college. 10 straight months under 80. That's basically the economic version of red lights flashing while a robot voice says, "Please evacuate the building." Prices, inflation, trade fears, shutdown trauma. All of it's mixing together like a casserole your aunt made where you're not totally sure if it's supposed to be sweet or savory. Labor markets cooling, job fears rising, grocery bills hitting harder than a Waffle House bouncer. People feel like the economy is a Jenga tower built on a trampoline. Segment 6. Tech Civil War. NVIDIA versus Google versus Meta versus Sanity. The tech world is having a meltdown louder than a toddler in the cereal aisle. NVIDIA stock tanked 5.4% after Meta said, "Hey Google, can we borrow your chips?" Meanwhile, Google stock jumped like it drank a Monster Energy and remembered it had rent due. If Meta really switches to Google's TPUS, then NVIDIA might finally have competition. Which is good for the market, but bad for whoever invested their entire 401k into NVIDIA after watching one motivational TikTok about AI. And the Genesis Mission Partnership basically says, if you're not Anthropic or NVIDIA, get in line behind the ice machine and hope we call your number. Tech companies are lining up like folks at the fair waiting for the one working tilt-a-whirl. Segment 7. The triple-demic approaches. Flu, COVID, RSV, and regret. Flu season is coming in hot, and by hot, I mean H3N2. The strain doctors talk about the same way rednecks talk about a tornado. If you hear it coming, get underground. Vaccination rates? Abysmal. People are skipping shots like it's dodgeball. Wisconsin's flu shot rate is at 26%, which is lower than the number of people who believe Bigfoot lives behind the Piggly Wiggly. COVID shots are even worse. 14% of adults. 6% of kids. That's not herd immunity. That's a group project where only one person did the work and the rest copied answers off a gum wrapper. RFK Jr.'s running public health has made people so confused that even pharmacists are shaking. Hospitals are bracing themselves like they're about to get hit by a convoy of coughing toddlers. Segment 8. Culture Corner. Wicked breaks records. Sanders wins. America cheers for something. Finally, some good news. The movie Wicked is smashing box office records, proving America will watch anything as long as it has singing witches and isn't another sequel to Fast and Furious. This movie is so successful, it's basically printing money. Restaurants love it. Malls love it. Teenagers love it. Capitalism loves it. Theaters are alive again, baby. Also, Shedeur Sanders won his first NFL start with the Browns, proving God sometimes gives Cleveland a miracle so the rest of us don't lose hope. If the Browns start winning regularly, I expect a congressional hearing. In conclusion, the United States right now looks like a giant bingo card where every square just says crisis, leak, inflation, Putin, or who approved this. We got a mega AI moonshot run by bureaucrats who lose USB sticks on the regular. A Congress eating itself like a possum stuck in a grain silo. Foreign policy held together with chewing gum. An economy powered by vibes. And a flu season sneaking up behind us like a Walmart employee saying, "Sir, you can't sleep in the display recliners." But don't you worry. We'll be right here tomorrow, duct taping together the daily news so you don't have to. This has been the Poorly Educated Podcast today in the news. God bless, stay safe, and if you hear a weird humming sound coming from the national power grid, no you didn't.